Demetrious Johnson is pound for pound greatest fighter of all time. Hi, and welcome to CornerSports. We're coming off of a great weekend of fights of UFC 216, but what I want to talk about is Demetrious Johnson. Demetrious Johnson is the greatest fighter this generation has ever seen. He is the pound for pound greatest fighter of all time, and in this video I'll tell you why. Look, people always want to talk about how do you judge pound for pound. And I don't understand why, because there's only one way of judging pound for pound and interpreting the phrase pound for pound great fighter. What pound for pound means that at 125 pounds, he is unrivaled. And his division, he is the king of that division. If you want to create some sort of an imaginary version of Mighty Mouse Johnson and put him at 135 or 145 or 155, or you want to put him at 170 or 185 or whatever weight class you want to put him in, if you can somehow take his ability and his mind and put it into a body that he's able to execute in those same abilities, he would still be the greatest fighter of all time. I don't know how to simplify it better than that. Let's just talk about his career for a second. He's 27, 2-1 with a 1 draw, which by the way shouldn't have been a draw in my opinion, but you can go back and watch the fight yourself. His only 2 losses have come to Brad Pickett and to Dominic Cruz. He won his title in 2012 fighting Joseph Benavidez, who is, by the way, another killer in this division. And then after that, he proceeded to defend his title 11 times now. I left a comment on MMAfighting.com saying, Demetrious Johnson, greatest fighter of all time, and I've got a bunch of responses that essentially went along the lines of, no he's not, he is boring, he's not entertaining, people don't like watching him, he hasn't had competition, etc., which is all not true. During his stint as the champion for the last 5 years now, he has had 11 fights, 7 of them have come by a finish, and also he's gotten 7 Fighter of the Night, Knockout of the Night, or Submission of the Night awards, which means 7 out of 11 fights at least have finished in spectacular fashion because they don't just give it to you for funsies or it was a great fight. And that's not to say his other 4 fights have been boring. No, he goes out there and he literally dominates people. It's like watching a 25-year experienced black belt fight a 1-year experienced yellow belt. That's what you're watching when you're watching Demetrious Johnson fight, especially in the latter part of his career now, like his last 6-7 fights. He makes the opposition look like they are rookies, like they don't even belong in the UFC, when most of the time they do really well against all the other competition in the UFC. Let's just look at some of the notable guys he has beat. He's beaten Joseph Benavidez, who by the way has only lost to Demetrious Johnson and Dominic Cruz in his entire career. He has 25 wins and 4 losses, and then he is 12-2 in the UFC, and those 2 times he lost to, obviously, our guy Demetrious Johnson. He is literally like the Daniel Cormier of the John Jones, if I could put it better, in this division. He has literally been kicking everyone's ass, anyone that's put in his path. The trouble is, his champion hasn't done steroids. I mean, that's not confirmed, alleged, but he hasn't been popped for dick pills or whatever, tainted supplements. I don't care. And that's a different conversation for another time. It really doesn't matter. I still think JJ is one of the greatest of all time, but nonetheless, I'm just saying Demetrious Johnson is better. But we look at Benavidez as the DC to the John Jones, if that's the best way I could describe it. Another notable guy he has fought is John Dutton, who's quick and pacey and has power, and Mighty Mouse completely eliminated him. I mean, it's crazy. He just makes these guys look like they're not good. He ran through the 125 division, and when he fought the champ twice and couldn't do it, he moved up to the 135, and he's doing well in that division. And another guy that's very notable that he's fought is Henry Cejudo, who's a gold medalist in the Olympics. If you can comprehend the accomplishment that is and how many people have actually ever done that, it's insane. And yes, he wasn't the same fighter then that he is now, and I'd love to see that matchup again, but that does not mean he did not beat a gold medalist wrestler who he dominated at his own thing, at his own game. He got in there, he got nasty, and he put him away. I mean, what he did to him is very impressive. It's so impressive, and people don't recognize that. Other notable names is Chris Carriaso, John Moraga, Ali Magomedov, whatever his name is. I've been trying to pronounce his name for the last 5 fucking minutes. I can't figure it out. I can't say his last name. Let's just move on. He has beaten notable names that are recognized, that are actually really great fighters for their division. I think it's not even that Mighty Mouse doesn't get the respect, it's just the division doesn't get respect because they're smaller guys. But you need to view them in the same perspective as you view the 185 pounders. The main point of this sport is competition, and these people are great competitors. And the way you see Mighty Mouse putting these competitors away in his division, only the fighters that he has to fight. I mean, yes, we look at DC as a great fighter, or Alex Gustafsson as a great fighter. That's why we call John Jones the greatest. We're looking at John Jones as this like amazing competitor because he went on an insane Legends tearing streak where he beat your Rampage and your Shogun and your Machitas, Belforts and Chael Sonnen, and the list goes on and on and on. I mean, like, he has beaten these guys, right, that are amazing. But the reason they're viewed as so amazing is because there was a pride in which 125 was not a division that was even a thing. So you only had these fighters that seem like really great fighters that have done great things, and yes, they have, but we can't judge Demetrious Johnson and say that no, he's not the greatest of all time because he hasn't fought a Rampage Jackson, or he hasn't fought a Shogun Hua, or he hasn't fought Rashard Evans. Like, it just doesn't make sense that you say these things because those guys weren't available to him. What was available to him was a brand new division in which he dominates, and if he wants, I am so sure he could dominate in 135. We're looking at the fact that he lost to Dominic Cruz years ago, damn near 8 years ago now, as a factor that we should judge him by forever, and that's just not the case. Basically what I'm trying to say is we are judging this guy in a wrong way, because the way we have judged Anderson Silva and GSP and John Jones and Cormier and whoever else you want to put in your Mount Rushmore and Fedor and etc., all these guys that have been great, whoever you think is the UFC or the greatest of all time pound for pound MMA fighter. I know you can say so many boxing names that are greatest for, I'm not talking about boxing, I'm talking MMA strictly here. Demetrious Johnson is better than all of them. His skill set is bigger than all of them. He can do it everywhere, whether that's underground, in the clinch, stand up, whatever you want, he will dominate you in that. You are a great wrestler, he'll take you down and he'll whoop your ass. You're a great striker, he'll knock you out. You're a submission artist, he'll put you in an arm lock. You're a pressure fighter, he will pressure you. Whatever it is that you're good at, he will come into that fight and he'll beat you at your game just to show you how good he is. People need to understand that this man is world-class, greatest of all time, and it's not even close. He has dominated a division, cleaned it out multiple times in 5 years. And yes, he should fight maybe TJ Dillashaw next. I'd much rather see him fight Cody Garbrandt, to be quite honest, because I think Cody's going to win that fight. That's a conversation for another time. But I want to close this out by saying, we don't give this man enough respect. We don't recognize his craft. We don't recognize what he's doing in this division and how he's dominating these fighters. We're not giving enough credit to his opposition because he makes them look so bad. And yes, that is a product of his performance, but we don't look at him the same way we look at other greatest fighters of all time, like the ones I've mentioned previously. And we need to start doing that, and once we do that, we will recognize that this man is better pound for pound than anyone has ever been. Thank you once again for coming back to Corner Sports. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think. Who do you think is the best pound for pound fighter of all time? I'm curious. Is it Demetrious Johnson? Is it John Jones? Is it Anderson Silva? Who do you think it is? Is it one of the other greats? Is it Fedor? I don't know how you view your pound for pound, but if you view it through the perspective that I've given you just now, who is your best pound for pound fighter? Give this video a like. Give this video a subscribe. These are two different things, but we're rolling with it, and I'll see you next time.